Well, hello, and welcome to The Difference Makers. I'm your host, Jacqueline Grant, and today we're going to show you how to have it all. Our special guest today is Eva Medilek, and she is going to share with you through her expertise of working with busy professionals who have lots on their plate, how they don't have to be overwhelmed and they can have it all, balancing career and personal lives so that they can have all that they want, all that they need, all that they can do, all that they can be. So join us for this episode of The Difference Makers, where we are almost at 1 year of doing this show. So I want to welcome all of you in, have you come on in. And I know there was a lot of interest in this particular topic in the days leading up to today's program, where many people were very interested about, this is a big promise, having it all. Can we really have it all? We will find out soon. So let me do an introduction of our guest to bring her onto our virtual stage. Eva Medilek is a certified high-performance coach, international speaker, author, and cultural inclusivity trainer. She has worked with men and women in the areas of personal development, leadership, inclusive intelligence, and mastering habits for success. She specializes in helping busy professionals just like you have more money, more time, and more success without sacrificing health, well-being, and relationships in the process. She uses her personal experiences along with her leadership, relationship, and high-performance training to teach you how to have it all without sacrificing it all. So I want to ask you to help me to bring a warm welcome to our Difference Makers guest, Eva Medilek. Eva, welcome to the show.
Hey, Jacqueline, thanks for having me. I'm super excited to be here.
It's really wonderful to have you here. And of course, we are all waiting with bated breath to hear how we can have it all. But first, tell us, how are you making a difference in the world with your gifts, your many talents and abilities?
I'm a firm believer in sharing our stories and being really transparent and vulnerable about our experiences, because a story not shared doesn't serve. And so I feel I'm making a difference in the world by sharing my story of, being busy, being burnt out, being overwhelmed, and how it impacted my health, my mood, and my relationship with my husband, because I know that my story just might be someone else's survival guide.
Absolutely. So can we really have it all? That is the burning question. Can we really have it all? And in this short time that we have together, give us some of the tips of how we might be able to have it all.
Well, we've been sold on the idea that we can have it all. For those of us that of a certain age, we might remember a commercial back in the late 1970s, early 1980s, and it was for this perfume called Anjali. And it had this catchy little jingle, and the words were, "I can bring home the bacon, fry it up in a pan, and never let you forget you're a man because I'm a woman." And the tagline was the 8-hour perfume for the 24-hour woman. And those ideas have set us up to believe that in order to have it all, we have to be it all and do it all too. And those ideas have set us up to be burnt out, stressed out, and overwhelmed, trying to have it all while doing it all. And so I come from it, my approach is, you have to establish consistent habits for success. And that doesn't mean that you have to be the one to do everything. Most busy professionals have this idea that nobody can do it as well as I do. I have to do everything. If I want something right, I have to do it myself, all of that. And that's creating the breakdown in our health, creating little Mr. and Mrs. Cranky Pants, if you will, because we're tired and hungry, and because we've just got so much on our plates. And so, it reminds me of a bumper sticker that I read once that said, "God put me on earth to accomplish a certain amount of things, and right now I'm so far behind that I'll never die." And so when I read that, I was like, oh my God, that's me, the endless to-do list that never seems to get done, because not only do we have pressure from outside voices telling us that We need to spend more time with our families,
Mhm.
take a vacation. And we have our internal pressures that we put on ourselves too. And, you know, then we start to feel like we're failing because we can't do it all and be successful at everything. And so, my first thing to tell people is give yourself permission to stop trying to do everything. Yeah, you don't have to sacrifice everything, but you will have to sacrifice some things. And the problem with most of us is that we're sacrificing the wrong things and it's hurting us in the long run. So we've got to give up some things in order to be successful. It's not about adding more to be more successful and have it all, but it's also not doing less just for the sake of doing less. So we've got to learn how to have a balance that is not equal,
Mhm.
right? Because when you look at a scale that's perfectly balanced, because we all want that work-life balance, right?
Mhm.
The number on the scale is 0.
Mhm.
And that's what happens. We end up zeroing out our results when we're trying to have that perfect balance between our work life and our professional life.
That's very interesting how you made that visual dynamic. So, what would you say would be maybe just the first step on how to choose what to keep, what to maybe delegate or take off of our plate?
Clarity. I have my CPR process to jumpstart this. First, you have to be clear on what makes you happy. And you've got to be clear on what makes you, where you're unhappy in your life and business.
Mhm.
Because, when we are clear, we can make better decisions. So you've got to ask yourself questions like, where am I happy in my life and business? Does the vision that I have for my life match the reality I have today? Um, you know, Questions that help you be clear on what matters most to you and really get clear on that. And after you get clear, then you can establish clear priorities because studies show that when we don't have clear priorities, we're actually up to 30 times more likely to miss out on success. And when we're clear on our goals, our values, the vision that we have on our life, it makes it easier to make decisions. It makes it easier for us to say no to things that don't move forward our values, our priorities, and our goals. So you've got to be clear on what that is. And I practice this all the time because I have a little bit of shiny object syndrome. If any of you recognize that. Oh, that sounds like a good idea. I want to try that. Oh, I want to do this. Oh, I want to do this. And I'm like a little squirrel all over the place. But when I stop and ask myself a question like, what is my priority for today? You can do it daily, weekly, monthly, yearly. What do I have that needs to be done by 5 p.m. today? And if that distraction does not bring me closer to completing that priority, I get to say, no, not today, not now. And
So
then the
let's
third,
dig a little bit deeper
yeah, that's a good one.
to how do we get that clarity? Is it totally an inside job by ourselves? Do we get someone like you to help us or a partner, a spouse? How do we get that clarity?
Well, there are so many ways to get clarity. And, how I coach my clients are, everybody thinks that clarity is going to come instantly. Clarity is going to come with action. When we start doing things that maybe we think are going to bring us what we need, and we realize, no, that was not it. That just made me 2 steps back. That's not the direction to go. So you've got to be out there with consistent action, and then clarity will come. Because, if you look at my story and my trajectory, my first profession was dental hygiene. I was a dental hygienist for 40 years. And then I had kind of a mobilizing event when I turned 50. And I realized I can't work the rest of my life. I'll never be able to retire and have the life I want to live. And so I became an entrepreneur in the real estate investing world. And I did that really successfully. And I'm still doing that, but there's still more. But as I kept stretching myself and growing, it became clear to me that I wanted to help people be successful in whatever area of their life they chose. And I did not have any clarity on that when I first realized that I wanted to do something, and it had to be something different, and it had to be something I can work from anywhere in the world. But like,
Mhm.
do I have to go back to school? What do I do? So I just kept looking at the opportunities that were presented to me and saying yes to the ones that I felt would get me there. And as you're in it, you realized, okay, what is the next step? Where can I go from here? So it really takes a lot of action. It takes asking yourself some really important questions. And yes, a team will help you as well. I had coaches and mentors along every step of my journey, and I still do.
I agree with you 1,000%. And where I most align with you is asking the question as to what is next, or what should I do, or what is for me, or what is my next step on my journey. Asking those questions, and more times than not, and if you're just starting in this thought process, it may seem a little out there, but when you ask yourself internally, because the answers are truly within you, and when you ask yourself, what should I do next? Or what is the next thing? Or what is the next step? Or how do I do this particular thing? I'm not clear on how to do it. I don't know how to do it. How do I do this? And you just wait and
Mhm.
are patient to actually listen to what's going on inside of your head. Either the first thing that comes to mind is the answer, or as you said, sometimes it takes action. You'll be doing something else. You'll be flipping through your phone, flipping through your feed, and you see the answer, and it just leaps off the page because you asked the question. You were able to see it because the opportunities and answers are always all around us. We just don't always see them. So when you ask the right questions, you give yourself the opportunity to see the answer. And you can't seize it until you can see it.
And I'm going to add to that, especially I love that you ended until you can see it. You've got to have a vision
Mhm.
for your life. I started out knowing the kind of, I was married for the second time at age 49, and that was, gosh, 12 years ago. And we had a vision for our lives. My husband is European. All of his family is still in Germany. And we had a vision that we had for our lives to be able to spend time in Germany, spend summers in Germany, travel, be with family without just showing up for a week or two. And anybody in the United States knows that when you work a job, you get 1 or 2 weeks vacation and that's it. And a week in Europe is just enough for me living in California to get over jet lag, barely. And it was just like, okay, I cannot stay in my profession and then ask for 2 months off in the summer. I'll be out of a job. So we had a clear vision for what we wanted our life to look like. And then I had to look at ways, what I could do to make that vision come true. And for me, it was establishing passive streams of income so that I could not work and still have money, not be working physically at a job 9 to 5. And there were a lot of other reasons why I didn't want to continue to do that. That profession was really hard on my health, and I didn't want to be in Europe in a wheelchair on the cobblestones going, they're not the most handicap friendly streets in Europe. They're all like that. And so I had a clear vision on what my life would look like. And then I started searching and seeking. I actually tried network marketing with a company because I let people know what I was looking for. I didn't keep it to myself. And that's another key area. The more people that you tell, the more the universe conspires to bring you opportunities to have that happen. And so I put the energy out there in the universe, and I tried network marketing and loved the product. I was my best customer. I realized that I did not have the skills for sales to make that a successful, viable business, or maybe I was in the wrong company. But through that, I was introduced to a book by Robert Kiyosaki, who wrote the book Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And I thought, oh, real estate, that could be it. And then there was an opportunity to meet with his team and learn how I can be a real estate investor. And that was it. That was nirvana. Like, oh my God, I can do this. And I don't have to kind of go back to school. I can be trained in this specifically,
Yeah.
create multiple streams of income. And I was committed and determined and I put all of my eggs in that basket. So much so, though, that I didn't take care of my health. I didn't take care of my relationship. And, my husband and I had a huge breakdown in our relationship, because I was always busy. I was doing a lot. I was exhausted. I was still working the day job and building the side hustle business. And it left me no time to focus on what matters most to me in my personal life. It was all business. And before long, I discovered my husband's infidelity. And it was a big wake up call to me. That's why I'm so passionate about what I do, that who I was being as I was doing was damaging not only my health and my mood and my well-being, but my relationships too. And it was kind of the punch in the gut, 2x4 to the head, whatever you want to call it, wake up call that I needed to say, wait a second, there's got to be a way that it's a both and not an either or. So we went to work. We committed to building a new relationship. We both took responsibility, 100% responsibility for our 50% of the relationship, and it wasn't 50-50, it was 100-100. And we got help. We sought therapy. We hired coaches. We did what we had to do to ensure our success, and we didn't go it alone. And it was hard and it was messy, but we came out, that was the best thing that ever happened to our relationship. It really woke us both up to what's important, what matters the most, and how we can show up our best selves for each other. So that's why I'm so passionate about the work that I do.
It definitely shows your passion. And thank you so much for your transparency, for so many things that you just shared regarding your relationship, and sharing with the world that you are 50 plus and looking gorgeous at it.
Honey, I'm 60 plus, but thank you.
I didn't want to go too far. But you look great. You look great. And that all goes to self-care, but it also goes to the fact that you are seeking as much balance as possible amongst all sides of your life. So in our audience, there are many who are entrepreneurs, but there are many who are still in the corporate world looking to transition to entrepreneurship full or part-time. Do you have any tips for them?
You've got to seek help. I'm a big proponent of wherever you need help. I mean, I was still working and I was seeking, and so I told people, I know, like in corporate world, you've got to be careful about showing your hand, if you will. But there've got to be some trusted confidants that you can have in your circle outside of your work environment that you can let know what you want to do. But I would say, first of all, when you look at balance, know that it's a sliding scale. It's always going to be like this. And, I talked about my CPR earlier. The R is the responsibility. We've got to own the responsibility of creating and setting boundaries, knowing when to say no, because when we say yes to everything to please everyone else, we take ourselves further away from our goal of success. So if you're in that transition and you have a clear path on what it will take for you to make the transition, great. Get all the support that you can in that, but also make sure that you are taking care of yourself in the process, because any change is hard. If change was easy, we'd all be doing it. And it requires us to do things that feel hard and uncomfortable. So it's really important throughout your day, your week, your month, your life, to what I call take little breaks so that you're protecting your energy. I have a thing that I do with my community where I share books that I read. Books have saved me when I felt down and it's been impossible. And I read for not only my personal development, but I read for my education on the subject that I want to learn. I'm always reading to up-level my skills as a coach, as well as, being trained. My coaching gets recertified every year. And so I'm trained constantly, monthly we were trained. So I don't take my responsibility lightly. It's just not one certificate and I'm one and done. I'm in it. So I would say whatever you can do to make yourself proficient in the areas that you're moving into, you're transitioning into, continue to up level your skill and your knowledge so that you have the right systems in place to make that transition successful.
And you mentioned about your program or your philosophy of CPR. You told us what the R was. What is the C and the P?
Well, the C was clarity.
Okay.
Yeah, we talked about that. And the P was priority, to be clear on what your priorities are and what your vision is and for your goals and values. Because I think Roy Disney once said, when your priorities are clear, decision-making becomes easy.
Yeah.
And so you've got to ask yourself, is this supporting my priorities or is it a distraction from it? And we use distractions and procrastination when things feel hard because it makes us feel better. And so, it's not that we're procrastinators, but we have a habit of procrastination. We have a habit of being distracted when things start to feel hard and uncomfortable. So keep yourself focused on your priorities so that you can really keep those distractions and procrastination techniques and habits at bay.
Well, you mentioned habits, and I have a habit of doing certain things on a daily basis, especially in the morning, to kind of set the tone and set the pace of my day. What kinds of things do you do if they aren't too personal to share? And what might you recommend as far as others to get into that habit of planning forward?
I love that, Jacqueline, because a morning routine sets you up to win. It wipes out 20% of stress in your day by having a consistent morning routine. And mine is consistent, but it varies for what I go through. So for a while, I was on the trampoline, rocking out to Stevie Wonder and Earth, Wind and Fire and Bill Withers. I always ended with Lovely Day by Bill Withers. And I just really know that I have the power to make it a good day. Not that there won't be challenges in it, but it's a good day when I can overcome a challenge and get through it. Like I was sharing with you early, like last night I was up every hour on the hour with a sick puppy. And I was like, okay, this is what we're gonna do. But at least I wasn't in the emergency room with her. And, and she's doing well now. But, life always throws something at us. So how you set yourself up to be intentional throughout the day. Another routine I have is I take pit stops throughout the day. Like if you ever watch the NASCAR race and you see those cars racing at these dangerously high speeds, they really want to make it to the finish line without crashing and burning. And I remember thinking when the lead car would pull off for a pit stop, like, why are they stopping now when they're ahead? Like people are going to pass you up. I mean, these are the thoughts that were running in my head. And most busy professionals have that same thought. But those drivers know that taking a pit stop is necessary for them to continue to race at peak or high performance without crashing and burning. Now, if we could set up pit stops for ourselves throughout the day so that we can keep our energy up and release energy that's no longer serving us, imagine how much further we can go to set ourselves up to win so that our families at the end of the day don't get what's left over of us.
Very true. Very true. I actually spoke to one of my clients before having this show, and I talked about sharpening the saw, about taking time for yourself, just a mental download, a mental break, so that you can have a time to refresh, a time to be able to be creative again and see new things in a different way, and just have your mind is like a muscle. Your brain is a muscle, just like any other muscle in your body, and it needs time to recover after fatigue, after multiple back-to-back meetings, after whatever is your daily activity. You need time to rest that muscle and refresh. And we talked about how we schedule our week, and he does it a certain way and I do it a certain way. And I typically have most of my meetings on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. I leave Mondays and Fridays as relatively open days from meetings for my paperwork, catch up on emails, but to refresh my brain from having all these wonderful Zoom meetings in these boxes that we're in. To have a time of refreshing, and you need to do that however it works for you in your schedule. But that sharpening of the saw comes from two lumberjacks who were in a tree cutting battle, and one just was big and burly and said, I'm going to muscle through it, and I'm just going to keep going and keep going and keep going. And then the little skinny guy had he took breaks every so often and sharpened his saw, went back at it for a while, took a break, sharpened his saw, and he won the challenge because he took the time to sharpen his saw.
Exactly. And so, a high performance hack that I can share with anybody who's listening right now is, this idea of back to back to back to back to back meetings has got to stop. First of all, has got to stop, because not only are you, wearing yourself out, because most of us, let me put it to you this way, most of us eat when we get hungry, we rest when we're tired.
Mm-hmm.
In high performance, you're going to rest before you get tired so you don't get tired. In high performance, you're going to eat for fuel and for stamina and for energy, not to satisfy hunger. It's a different mindset. And so, a lot of times I'm not hungry. I love to work. I can keep going, but I know by the end of the day, by the time I go, leave my office and go downstairs and spend time with my family, I'll be exhausted. So as a high performer, I set up little 5, 10, 15-minute breaks throughout my day. Those are my pit stops. So I put gas in my tank before it's empty.
Awesome.
Just like the cars in the racetrack. You know what? I change the tires before they go flat. And it takes, I teach my clients 2-minute, resets and pit stops, 5-minute resets. How do you re-energize when your wagon is dragging and you got one more client, one more meeting? How do you bring the energy back? How do you get rid of the energy from a client or a meeting that completely drains you? How do you release that so that you can re-energize? My re-energizing techniques that I got from my high performance coach, Brendan Burchard, takes a total of 5 minutes. You all can find 5 minutes between a meeting to recharge and reset. And so those are some habits that really improve our performance so that we're on our A game in everything that we do, in every area of our lives. And when we make the transition from work to family, create a habit, if you will, to transition and leave work in the office. And not bring that energy to your family, because that was the catalyst that got me in trouble with my marriage. I was tired, complaining, bringing that heavy energy. Oh, this didn't work right. Oh, this meeting went wrong. Oh, this patient was this. And, my husband was like, this is every day. Like, come on now. So hopefully that'll give your audience a little bit to think about.
Absolutely. But if they would like to think a bit more on the topic and get in contact with you or have a pit stop with you, how can people get in contact with you?
If they really are serious about learning high performance habits, I would just say go to talkwitheva.com and let's talk about it. And let's really see how high performance coaching can help you. And if you want, I have a free gift for people to create some energy throughout the day. And that's always helpful. You just go to evamedilek.com. That's my name.com /energy. And you'll get 6 ways to create little energy generating habits throughout your day.
Awesome. Thank you so much for your generosity, for your lovely free gift, as well as all that you shared, being so transparent and open with us to encourage and edify our audience. Thank you so very much, Eva Medilek. And thank you, everyone, for watching. Share this show with someone you know that may need a little energy boost or a pit stop to help them through their day. So I'm Jacqueline Grant, and I thank you so much for being here with us at The Difference Makers. We look forward to seeing you next time. Thanks, Eva.
Bye.